Hey everybody, this is Jason Spangler along with Brad England. This is episode 15 of Threadheads. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about the business of sort of having a part-time or maybe even a full-time job, if there is such a thing, selling scouting memorabilia on eBay, on the internet, Facebook. And one thing that Brad and I were talking about yesterday in kind of our pre-call for this show was about the recent eBay seller update. They released something they called an early summer update and had a few changes, some of which are kind of interesting, and one of which kind of impacted Brad a little bit. So I'm going to throw it over to Brad, let him tell you about that, and kind of kickstart today's show.
Thanks, Jason. Oh, so yeah, I was talking to you a little bit about this yesterday, and I was going through putting some listings on eBay or relisting some things, and noticed that my 30-day um, listing option was gone um, on store listings. So not auctions. So these would be just store buy it now. I run most of the stuff I put on eBay. I do a buy it now best offer, so leaving that option open for people and make an offer on things. Usually it moves a little quicker. Um, but so the strategy was, I pay for this store and I get so many listings a month, auctions and um, store listings. So what I would do is kind of fluctuate. Sometimes I would put things up for 30 days and then let them drop off for 30 days. Just kind of depends on what it was and what time of year it was, or just different situations. It differed from time to time. And the reason for that is because the difference between the 30-day and the good till canceled is very important when you have those store listings, because even when it's good till canceled, every 30 days it rolls over as a new listing. So if you get, Jason, like if you get 1,000 listings, I think mine's 1,000 on the store side. That's the one I have. So if I get 1,000 listings and I have 900 items that roll over every 30 days, then out of that 1,000, I really only get 100 for that month, because it's going to basically charge me for those listings every 30 days. So I think what happened was eBay figured out that people were using that strategy and kind of, having a few thousand items, but they were only running 1,000 every 30 days, and whatever sells off, that kind of replenish some. And so now there's no option on eBay on a store listing to do 30-day. It's all good till canceled. So that's it's changed my strategy a little bit, more work for me on the automated side, because there's other things you can look at on eBay. I'm not really deep into the tools. I don't know how much you are, Jason, but I do look at when I listed an item, if it's on a good till canceled, how long it's been on there. Because I mean, things do start to come into factor especially if you're going over that monthly amount, or if you have like a beginner store or you're not paying a subscription and you're putting things on there and it's charging you 30 cents a listing or whatever. It's rolling over that listing every 30 days and charging you for it. So it's kind of become where I have to be a little more vigilant on how long things have been up. Kind of doing the same as a 30-day, but I'm pulling them a little quicker. Because for a while, what I do, and I know a few other people have done this, I'll run some listings for 30 days, and then let them set for 30 days and kind of rotate. I mean, kind of like rotating stock in a store. Um, so now you don't have that option, and I'm guessing it's because eBay's kind of caught on to how people were doing that. They kind of started this a while back, Jason. We had a conversation. I think it was a Threadheads conversation or one of our videos probably a few years ago, where they were doing if you did like an auction that didn't sell, they would put it back up automatically and wouldn't charge you a fee for like 2 or 3 times. I know they've done some marketing type stuff with that. And I know recently I've done one where you can automate it to drop it by 10 or 15% and relist it or whatever. So I think eBay's kind of been on this path for a long time. They're just now figuring out how to force these stores to do the good till canceled. So I don't know how this will affect your strategy, and how you list things in your store. Sometimes it probably doesn't really matter if I were going to list 1,000 items and just leave 1,000 items on there every month, it'd probably be okay. It's kind of one of those things where you may want to list a little more, or now it's kind of where you've got to really figure out if you want to pull some items down to put some new items up for 30 days or however long, because you can pull those down. So, so Jason, I don't know if this affects your strategy at all. I thought it was pretty interesting, and this just happened to me a couple days ago when I was trying to put some things on that had ended, that I had on 30 days that had ended and had set for a few weeks, and I was trying to put them back up and got the red flag from eBay. So, what about you, Jason? Let's kick it back to you. You got anything to add on to that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. It's interesting. Your strategy is essentially you want to pay to have the 1,000-item store, but you really want to sell 2,000 items. You want to have like 1,000 items listed for a month, and then let those die, and then relist the other 1,000, and kind of rotate your inventory, which is very clever. I tell you one thing I would suggest to people if you're kind of getting into this eBay thing and you want to kind of take it seriously. One thing that I have done is listen to a lot of podcasts, and they actually have a really active Facebook page now called eBay for Business. There used to be something called eBay Radio. For many, many, many years, there was an eBay radio show you could listen to, and they had a podcast. But now eBay's kind of tweaked that format, and they have it all in-house now, and they call it eBay for Business. And there is still a podcast you can listen to, and there's also some little Facebook Live videos they do as well. So I've listened to some of those, and basically what they would say about this whole change is that they're trying to build a catalog, sort of the Amazon model, although they never say the A word when they're talking. But essentially, if you have something for sale, they don't want sellers to play games and list something for 7 days and then wait a few days and list it again for 7 more days and play games with duration. They want the item to be for sale, and they want customers to be able to find it. They want Google and search engines to be able to find the listing. So for them, what they explain anyways, if we want to take them on their word, is that this makes it better for buyers to find things that they want to buy. So they don't want sellers to do little games of stopping and starting things. It's kind of interesting because I didn't subscribe to this, but I had played with a subscription service that would do some little tweaky things where they would go in and end your listings and then automatic relist them, kind of going off this idea that if you have things stopping and starting and new things launching in your store, that would help drive traffic. In our category, there's about 200,000 items for sale. So there's a lot of stuff for sale, and it's hard to be found in search, even if you have the right items. So that's something kind of to think about. You were asking about my strategy. I have always kind of had sort of a fire and forget strategy. When I put something in my store, I used to remember to put it as good till canceled, but sometimes I would have it as 30 days, and I would tell it to automatically relist, which I think essentially did the same thing. But I will say this, in terms of leaving things on there. If you have something that you have multiple quantities of, then it is definitely best to have it a good till canceled, because your listing will earn a reputation based on how many times it sells. And I'll give you a real simple example of that. If anybody wants to go to my account, I sell, back in 2012, I published a series of prices realized guides for our hobby. Now, that was in 2012, okay? This is a long time later. But every week I sell some of those prices realized guides, and I print them on a CD, and I mail people the CD, because eBay has a rule that you can't actually send someone an electronic file. You have to physically mail them something. So kind of old fashioned there. But if you go and look at those listings, you can see that all the sales that I've made for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years are on there. And it kind of shows people that, hey, this is something you might want to buy. And so I'm still amazed at how many of those that I sell. Which works out really well. Kind of interestingly enough, the year of data I captured, it just happens to be a year of data that's nowhere else. It's after OA Images quit gathering data, and it's the year before Brett Estrada created his patch trends, which is now Boy Scout Patch Info or something along those lines. So, anyways, it's still data that's kind of interesting. Brad, I'm gonna hog the microphone for one more minute because I want to tell people one other thing that they need to look out for, and this might be something for you as well. So, another one of the things that I had noticed for several months now, I would have people message me and they would say, "When are you going to get more of this item?" And I would reply back, "What?" Like, I was like, why would they even see something if it had already been sold if I didn't have another one? And what I started to notice was, and this has been a few months ago, that if I had an item in my store and it sold, instead of the listing just disappearing, it would still show on the eBay system, but no matter where you clicked on there was nowhere to click where you could actually buy it. So they were sort of already maybe piloting this or introducing this idea that there's this catalog of items, the items there for sale. Now, right now, there might not be any inventory or quantity of that available, but the item's still there. And I think that what they were assuming is that the eBay seller would just replenish that listing. So again, this idea of SEO, right? The listing doesn't go away. You just replenish it when you get more of that thing in stock. Well, this doesn't really work for collectibles because most of the time, of the millions of patches that have ever been created, for me to get the exact same patch in another collection or something and say, oh, I got another one of the S3Bs with the dark grass, let me put that on there. That would almost never happen. But here's what you have to watch out for. This is kind of the big takeaway. And I'm fixing to save all those big eBay store guys, Brad, that we talk about. Those ones that like to brag about how they have, 10, 12, 15,000 items on eBay. I'm about to give them a whole lot of money. So let me just take credit for this. All right, here's what's happening. If you look at your store, very likely here's what's happening. You have 12,000 items on eBay. Okay, look at your store in your admin panel and go to the inventory. Sort everything by inventory. Here's what you very likely will see. You'll very likely see in your eBay inventory, the live items, you're going to find a bunch of items that are live that have zero quantity. Now, when I first figured this out, I said to myself, that's really weird, but surely there's no way eBay is charging me to have a listing live on their site with no quantity. I can't sell it. It's not, there's nothing to sell. Why would they charge? They must just be doing something weird. Well, lo and behold, the other day, I've been going to the YMCA, Brad. I listen to these podcasts in the morning at the YMCA, trying to trim down for the summer, right? And I listened to this interview, and sure enough, the person was talking about this, and they were kind of bragging about it. Oh, this is great. And almost like a little slip up, they said, and sellers are charged their listing fee for these items that are, to me, ghost items. They don't even exist. You can't buy them. But if it's still live in your store, even though it has a quantity of zero, you're going to get charged for it. So just yesterday, like 2 days ago, I went through my store. I found over 600 items in my store that had zero quantity, but I was still paying for them every month. And what's weird is I asked another guy, I told another guy about this. We looked at his account. He didn't have any at all in his store. His store wasn't as big as mine. So I don't know if it's by account or by store subscription or why that would be determined that way. But for me, every time I sell an item in my store, the listing doesn't go away. It stays there, and I have to forcibly end it in my admin panel. So anyways, sorry to go on so long, Brad. I'm going to kick it back to you and let you talk for a minute.
Hey, I'm going to piggyback off that before going into the next subject. So basically, you got me thinking, when you buy an eBay subscription, you basically prepay for listings. So I want to kind of go back to that. You said, I want to list 2,000 or list 1,000, be able to sell 2,000. That's the strategy, because basically when you buy a store subscription, you're getting those listings at a discount. And if you don't use them, let's say you're getting them at 10 cents a piece, right? You're prepaying for 10 cents listings pretty much. They tell you they're free because you get other things, but whatever. It's about 10 cents a listing. Well, if you only use a third of them, those listings are costing you 30 cents because you're having to pay for them anyway. So you're kind of back to square one. So just kind of like that prepaid. And going back, like I'm going to share kind of a tip trick because I'm with you. Like I listen to a few YouTube channels, people sell on eBay, Amazon. I do some of that stuff too. But on eBay, they've done this sponsored listing. I've seen a few of those where you can pay a little extra to get your listing at the top, and some of them are pretty. It's good. I've seen some things like really show up a lot, but also, if it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you've ever done this, Jason, where because I do like relaunches on my store, so sometimes I'll relaunch some things or I'll relist things, and then all of a sudden I'll sell things that have been sitting in my store for a long time. The theory is that eBay kind of drives business to you. Even though we're kind of on the collectible side, it's probably a little different. But I've seen this happen where I've listed some things and had other things sell where people come browse my store or whatever. But the theory is that, and kind of a tip or trick, I haven't really tried this much. I've done it a couple of times. But if you have a listing that's ended and you're going to relist it, instead of relisting the item, you click sell similar and keep the image and everything the same, and basically it populates as a new listing on eBay. And so what eBay in their algorithms or whatever, what they say is that's a brand new item to eBay. Let's show it to our customers instead of, oh, this is Jason's item that he's listed for the last year, so they just relisted it again. So that it's really kind of interesting. I mean, I'm sure that these are big time sellers that sell way more stuff than than we do with scout patches or whatever, and they hold true to that theory. So just kind of a thought. You might test this theory, Jason. I probably will. I've done it a little bit, and it's pretty interesting to me. But just a little tidbit I picked up from the other place. But so that just kind of brings us into, we were having a conversation yesterday, following the Hot Finds newsletter where you were talking about your $5 eBay store, and it kind of had me thinking about one time I built this Excel spreadsheet basically talking about like the fee breakdown on eBay. And I had this come up because I had somebody tell me they had the largest eBay store, as far as patches go and stuff. And so I go and look, and about half of the items of the thousands of items that were listed on there were selling for about $3. So I went back and did the math. I think there's a few ways to look at it. So I just wanted to kind of go through like a patch profit breakdown. And so basically at a $3 patch, you start figuring out the fee. Let's say I buy a patch for $1. All right, here we go, Jason. Everybody, I bought this patch for $1, right? If I go stick this on eBay, now there's several factors in it. So if I stick this on eBay and it either auctions or sells within the first 30 days, because remember, I got to pay a listing fee, and I didn't even calculate for that in here because it's kind of a weird thing. But if I sell this patch for $3, it cost me $1, so I'm already down to $2. Then I pay I pay just to put a stamp on it. I'm not even sure what the cost of the envelopes and paper or whatever else. I'm just going to say a stamp. So 55 cents to put a stamp on this thing. The PayPal fee for this is going to be right around 39 cents. It's usually 30 cents plus 2.9. That's a big thing to remember, because when you're talking, the 2.9 would be 9 cents. It's not too bad when they tack on the 30 cents. So on a $3 patch, we're getting there. So, and then the eBay fee, because the final value fee is 10% in our category, 10% right off the $3. So that's another 30 cents. So I would, at the end of the day, I get $1.76 for this patch that I paid $1 for. So you make 76 cents on a patch. And I'm sure I'm leaving out a few. I mean, there's like the listing fee and stuff, but there you go. So your time's worth whatever. If I took that same patch, even though the fees go up a little bit, Jason, I pay $1 for that patch. I sell it for $5. After all of those fees, I make $2.50. So almost four times, close to 4 times as much for selling it for $2 more. So that's just kind of kind of give you an idea on the breakdown. Plus, I mean, and especially for the people that don't buy on eBay, it kind of gives you an idea of why people do use the Facebook group so much. So, for instance, I usually tell people if I have something on eBay, knock 20% off of it, and I'll sell it to you directly for that. So, in my case here, $5 patch. If I knock 20% off, it's $4. I make 50 cents more selling it through the Facebook group than I do eBay. So it kind of, I mean, and that doesn't always work. And for the buyer, it's the same difference. They're getting a discount on the patch, but it doesn't make any difference to them. So, it's that's kind of the breakdown. There are a lot of fees involved between the shipping, the cost. Then I didn't even wrap in the store cost. So once we get down to that 10 cents per listing or 5 cents per listing, whatever it might be. But just kind of a quick breakdown of that. And this kind of led us in yesterday to talking about, what do big box stores, what do they think's like a successful profit margin for their items? And I think we ended up getting to somewhere around 20%, maybe between 10 and 30, depending on how big the item is and how much money it brings in. But again, they have these same costs. They have shipping costs to them, shipping costs if they're shipping things out or if they're putting it on a shelf. They have to pay the guy to put it on the shelf, the person to check you out. And so there's a lot of different factors, even though it's ours is more of a hobby, a patch hobby, and then kind of subsequently a business. It still kind of makes a big difference on how people are listing things, and I think this will kind of help people realize why people list things the way they do on eBay. So, Jason, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind is overhead, right? So you were talking about all the other things that go along with listing that, or in the case of a big box store, the salaries and everything else. I'm sitting here in a warehouse that I don't, doesn't hurt my feelings to tell you, it cost me about $1,000 a month to rent this warehouse. This is the office part, and through that door is a warehouse that I've got a bunch of stuff stored away on shelves. So, as far as the business goes, I've got to make enough money to pay for the building. So I have to factor that in somehow. Couple of things you mentioned too. I have tried. I've tried recently in the last month in February, 99-cent auctions. And kind of what I did there was more of a loss leader. I actually had a few people message me about that, and it's just common sense asking, how can you make any money off that? That doesn't really make any sense. But it's very similar to what you said about just trying to get your store kind of buzzing and get more sales and stuff. And so I had some patches that I literally had no real money invested in. I've had them sitting around forever. And so I said, well, let me just try this strategy. And I auctioned off like maybe 10 99-cent patches every night and just started another 10, and just to get traffic going. Interestingly enough, those patches actually averaged out to sell for $3 each. If you look at all the ones that sold versus what they actually sold for at auction, is about $3 a patch. Because a couple of them, took off and sold for $10 or whatever. So that kind of worked out nicely. The other thing is you brought up this idea of a $5 store. And again, like I told you yesterday on the phone, I always enjoy just coming up with a strategy and sort of running with it and seeing what would happen. So like 99-cent auctions, let me see if that works. $5 store, let me see if that works. So essentially what I did, I had another eBay account that I had been letting my daughter kind of list on to try to make her, lunch money and cell phone bill money and that kind of thing. And it kind of had not really taken off. She just didn't really, do what I asked her to do. Imagine that, teenager. So I said, okay, well, let's change the game a little bit. And so I said, we'll put everything in the store at $5, free shipping, which is another part of what you're talking about. And so within the first couple of days, we sold a few items. I did have one person go in yesterday and buy 3 items, which is real simple because 3 items is $15, right? 555. There's no shipping. And so just trying a different strategy, some of the patches in there, there's OA flaps in there for $5. There's council strips in there for $5. There's camp patches for $5. But it seems like $5 is sort of a nice round price with no shipping. However, the problem is, how do you then make any money off that? Like you were saying with the, I'm going to do something real fast here. Sorry, everybody. You go into the fees. When I had, the very first sale and looked and saw what my PayPal account said. It said $5 sale, but the take was $4.55. So 45 cents went to the other person, or went to PayPal, and then I had the rest. And then I just had to pay the 55-cent stamp. So right there, I'm down to $4, and hadn't paid any of the eBay fees. So yeah, it kind of adds up. It does. I still don't know if a $5 store is even that viable. I am running auctions, which hopefully will make sell for more than $5. We'll see. So, Brad, I'm gonna throw it back to you and let you just kind of wrap up this little session, and then we'll do some a little mail call or something like that to wrap it up. Okay.
All right, right on. Yeah, so that's kind of, we've done several of these videos, and so if there's anybody that has any questions or anything, I hope this answers some questions. I hope maybe it brings up some questions, because we're always kind of scratching for material, and so it's kind of this brought up a huge conversation between you and I, Jason, yesterday. I mean, kind of more extensive than what we've even talked about now. So all kinds of strategies and stuff. This is just kind of an inside to eBay, and selling on eBay all the time. I'm sure everybody has different strategies, and we've seen it all over there. So just kind of give people an idea. Give you all anyone that's looking to do sell more on eBay, anybody that's beginning and wanting to sell more, or anybody that has is currently selling for a while. I mean, I pick up strategies from people all the time, so just kind of an idea what I do, and you do, Jason. So yeah, so this is, if you guys, again, these topics are something we hope helps. If anyone has questions, so the topics are endless if you guys have some suggestions and stuff. So Jason, I'm gonna, I don't really have a mailbag. I'm gonna kind of move on to this. I had a backpack full of patches. So we were talking earlier, I took a trip up to Boston, and when I posted, this is the great thing about the Facebook group, guys. Keep an eye out, so I post on there that I'm going to be in Boston, and Mitch Reese actually pings the listing and says, "Hey, there's a Trader Reese Saturday down in New Jersey," and so there you go. I made a trip down, kind of incognito, because I found out a few people were there that I didn't get to put a name to face with. That I've done some stuff on Facebook. Jim Conrad, I missed him, but he said he was there about the same time I was, and we've done a lot of things through Facebook. But I mean, I came home with like a few things. Of course, I had to fly things back, so the girlfriend didn't let me go too crazy with things that I picked up. Little did she know. So I went to a Tulsa tradery a few weeks ago, and the back of her car SUV is full of stuff. Full to the point that my girlfriend asked me if she knew I was bringing, or my daughter asked me if she knew I was bringing all this stuff home. So I got to get that stuff moved out into the garage before she gets home. So my mailbag is the back of the girlfriend's SUV full of Scout books and regalia. It was crazy, man. Great tradery. If you guys ever get a chance to come to the Tulsa tradery, very local Oklahoma stuff, but it's pretty cool. I mean, I bought some regalia for my lodge ceremony team. I bought some books they had for a while, just to help them out and get rid of stuff. They do the fundraisers for the lodge, so they always bring their closeout lodge stuff. So it's a really cool tradery. I'm trying to make several of these this year just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it's, or give myself an idea of what these different traderies are like. So I'm hitting about all different ends of the spectrum between Dallas, Indy, then I went to Tulsa, and then up to the New Jersey tradery. Neat stuff, man. So I'm going to hit some more this year. I'll give everybody a better heads up when I do that. So, yeah, Jason, I'm going to kick it back to you on the mailbag, and show me what you got, man.
All right. Well, one of the fun things about buying collections is sometimes you can get something for your own collection, not because you went out on eBay and found it and sniped it the last second, but it just sort of comes in a collection. And typically when that happens, you'll buy the whole collection and you're going through it and you're like, oh, look at this. So I recently got a collection, and in there was a flap that I needed. And so probably like a lot of people, I have a generic collection of all OA Lodge flaps. I don't take it super seriously. I have a lot of needs, and I don't, like I said, I don't go down the checklist spending lots of money every month trying to buy those. But when one falls into my lap, that's a really good one. I get kind of excited. So let me show you this one. So there was a lodge in Guam. Eventually it becomes the Aloha Council, but prior to 1973, there was a council located in Guam. I'm going to say the name, and it's going to be slaughtering it. Chamorro. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. But when that council existed pre-1973, there was a lodge there, HSN Lodge 565, and you can tell it looks kind of Guami, right? So obviously there's a military base there. That's how the gentleman that I got this collection from, he got this from being there in the military. And so it's kind of a cool flap. It's not like, crazy expensive, but it is hard to find. And I didn't have one for my collection, so now I do. So that's kind of a cool find. I really like that. That's kind of how a lot of my collection, when I go off into these side collections, a lot of that's just finding stuff in collections. I'm not really that much in like going on eBay and just, ping, 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 chasing down things. So I got too many patches sitting around here I got to get rid of. So. All right, Brad, I'll let you end this episode, okay?
Yeah. That's awesome, Jason. Yeah, that happens. It happens every once in a while. Yeah. So again, I don't know what episode Threadheads this is, Jason. We kind of kept track for a while. We're on 15.
Yep.
So hey, man, we're catching up. We're gonna double the catalog this year that we had done from the years past. So yeah, hey guys, if you have any questions, hot topics, anything we could discuss on here. I mean, we've seen some cool discussions on the Scout Patch Collectors Facebook group. So those might be some cool things to get into. But yeah, hit up Jason or myself. Give us some ideas to do for the next Threadheads, and man, hopefully we'll see you guys at the next tradery. So have a good one.